All right, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Villain Viver podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Elk, and along with me today we have.
Ashley.
And Roman.
All right, and today we'll be going over the cast for season 9, Ganon's Calamity, the second chances season of Villain Viver, where we've brought back 18 players from our previous seasons to give them another shot at the crown. So without further ado, let's head right in and talk about the first player on our list today, who is Baz, coming to us from season 3. So what are our thoughts about how Baz is going to do on this season?
So, to be honest, I have not gotten caught up on confessionals or anything. So, my thoughts are just based on not like mine is like a true cast assessment, like how we used to do them, and not based on how they've performed at all yet this season. So, like coming into the season, Baz in his first season, he kind of like got fucked over with a bunch of advantages. So like we didn't really get to see how he would have played. And like his dumb self, like literally like negotiated a worse deal for himself. Like he got this disadvantage where he could or where he would have no vote for 3 tribal councils. And he was like, well, what if I just had a randomized vote for 5? And like so he literally didn't have like a vote or like a salt like a vote that or he could vote for until like F7. And so that like fucked his game. So we never really got to see how Baz would play. But Baz is like he during his time in his original season 3, he was like a social player, you know, like people liked him. He's like a funny guy, and I've played with him twice now, and he's a bit of a himbo. He's you know, self-proclaimed, and you know, he can be a little bit of an asshole, but in that endearing kind of way that, you know, it's like it comes off as charming. And so I think like his social game will be really good for him. He does work a job where he like wakes up at 4 a.m. and so he goes to bed really early. I don't know how that will affect him because I don't know like the sleep schedules and time zone affecting this cast, but like I feel like Baz is destined for another early merge, maybe mid merge kind of boot, even though I do have him drafted.
Yeah, I think that Baz comes into this game with a pretty fine reputation in that like he's not one of the people who people are going to be super worried about coming in. He isn't known to be some massive threat or anything like that. But at the same time is known for playing a little bit chaotically and seems like he's coming in, you know, excited to stir things up again, but also wants to play a little bit of a cleaner and crisper game based on the things he said, you know, preseason heading into this season. Um, I'm definitely optimistic for Baz. I think that there are very clear things to clean up, including mitigating a little bit of the risk of the way the last safari went for him and trying to make it go a little bit cleaner this time around. But on the whole, I would say that Baz is one of the people on this cast that I'm optimistic about getting through the early part of the game. But I agree that I think his chaotic instincts are going to get the better of him somewhere around like final 10, final 9. And I think his desire to stir up chaos will ultimately be his undoing.
This is my first time seeing Baz. And like based on everything he's saying in his CFs and stuff, he's trying to take the calmer approach, but I don't know, I kind of like he kind of gives off like really chaotic vibes. He does seem to like be assimilating with his tribe pretty good. Like they've said they've had good conversations with him and stuff, but that like one of the weak points, like Ashley says, was that he goes to sleep early and stuff. Um, I kind of see him making it past merge. because I feel like there's like no threat in him. I don't know. Like I think right now we have him as middle of the road or whatever. So I kind of see him getting past Merge.
All right, so from there, we'll go ahead and move to our next contestant, who is Chip. And Chip is one of the people I'm very interested to see what happens to her on this season because, quite frankly, like with the way last season played out, it's pretty fair to say that Chip hasn't even really gotten a first chance yet. So seeing Chip get like a fair shake at the game and a chance to show that he's got what it takes is something that we're all really excited to see. And Chip seems to be coming in with a great attitude for it, despite everything that happened to her in season 8. And so I'm definitely very, very eager to see where things go for Chip. I think a Chip who has seen what happened on season 8, who's A, gotten herself in a cast that's more willing to give her a chance, and B, who's learned from everything that she read after the season, which it actually seems like she did a little bit of digging into, like, at least a little bit more of how Discord orgs are typically played, especially with season 8 being the first org she ever played. I wouldn't say that she, back read every single message on the server or anything like that, but I think she's coming in armed and ready to show that what happened to her last season does not represent the best that she can give us, and seems like she's already off to pretty great start. So I do think that she'll probably eventually run out of steam, but I think she's likely to beat her original placement of 8.
Yeah. Um, Chip is actually someone whose confessionals I have read up on. Like she, based on what we know of her in her original season, she's a loyal player. She, I don't know. I do think being so new to orgs, like I do think that she's going to learn from some of her mistakes, but I do think that she's going to stick to how she played last time largely, and that she is someone who just like really sticks up for what she believes in, which is why we all love Chip, but it's like I do think that's going to like get her into trouble, especially in a returnee season. Like it's going to make her a liability for her allies, and because she is so outspoken, and it's like they're going to be like, we can't have someone who like, well, I don't know, it could go one of two ways. Like they'll either be like, we can't have someone who always speaks her mind, or they'll be like, oh wow, oh well, we always know where her head is at. So I don't know, like, but I definitely think that we're gonna see Chip playing the same exact game, or a very similar one at least. And I definitely see Chip being fan favorite this season. 100% see that. Which I love for her. I would love to see a Chip fan favorite. Like who wouldn't? But yeah, I mean, it seems like what I hope most for Chip this season is that she gets a better experience than what she had. Like that is what Chip's second chance is about, at least from a hosting perspective, at my hosting perspective. And yeah, I just, it seems like she is off to a good start. Like we're not getting the seemingly inactive Chip because she doesn't know how Discord works. Like, we're getting like the super social game Chip, and kind of,
Yeah, picking up on what Elk said, I do think she's gonna get like past like a better placement than 8th. I kind of see her as like 6th for right now, or like maybe even 3rd, just depending on how her game develops. Like there's a lot of people who have been actively talking about Chip and her and their CFs and everything, because like her social game is like really good. I think she might even be at the top of her tribe right now based on how her tribe has been looking. And then like we just get to see so much comedy out of her from other people. And I feel like Chip was talked about a lot last season, but we never really got to see the social side of her. So I feel like Chip's coming out of her shell more this season than she did last season. And I think that's like a good point. Like a good meaning for this season.
All right, from there, our next contestant up is Curtis.
Oh. I like having Curtis. We were worried he was gonna be boring. Some people were worried about that, but um, he's really entertaining so far, and he's in a good position. Like he didn't have his vote at all for the first vote, and well, actually, his he has a majority alliance already, and both two of them didn't have votes, and they controlled the entire first tribal. So I think he's in a really good position. I could see him making it like to final 8.
Yeah, I'm glad you threw in that some people thought he was going to be boring because I did not think he was going to be boring. I've been a Curtis stan through and through. Like Curtis was someone who, like, he said that he doesn't play Survivor orgs. Like, he was only going to play Survivor org if it was this one. And like, oh my gosh, like I'm so glad that he came back. And I'm not caught up on Curtis's confessionals, but I'm glad to hear that he's doing well. And Curtis was so robbed last time, by J Rose antics and getting him set up and rude. But like Curtis is someone who I knew that he had started playing Big Brother orgs, and so it's going to be really interesting to see how his Big Brother takes him. I think where he says he thrived on social, like seeing him translate that into the game of Survivor, and seeing how far that would be, like the person who's cut right before merge, just because he's one of those people who's like, yeah, we love Curtis, but it's like there's no one else to cut. I don't know why I get that feeling, but that is the feeling that I get.
So yeah, I was during the preseason assessment and the casting meeting and everything. I was probably the definitive Curtis anti. Um, I between like what we got of his confessionals in season 4 and what we saw in his interview and stuff, I was definitely not especially optimistic about getting anything more interesting than the drying paint on the wall out of Curtis.
Oh my gosh.
However, ever since Curtis hit the marooning, he has been delivering over and over and over. And
Yeah.
honestly, like, I'm happy to take the L on that one. Like, I didn't think he had it, but he does. I'm willing to admit I was wrong. Curtis has it. I did not see one shred of it in his interview, but ever since the game has started, Curtis has been consistently delivering, has been very entertaining, has been like getting right in the ear of everyone on the tribe, getting himself into a fantastic position. Like, honestly, Curtis is playing one of the best games of anyone so far from both a player and a character perspective. And I was wrong to doubt. I'll say it. I was wrong to doubt.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Team Curtis right now. I was debating putting him on my draft and everything. I opened Tribal and Curtis walked in and he was like, "I have your address," and I was like, "I gotta stan him."
All right. Well, from there, from Curtis, we'll move on to the so-called Dan bot. This is Dan coming to us from season 3.
Yes, I have thoughts. I have thoughts on Danbot. I am such a Danbot stan. Such a Danbot stan. Like, season 3 is one for the history books. And it is a large of Danbot. And cars. Fuck you, Tig. Because like, how can you not be done? Is my mic like really cutting out like that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I
During
don't know how to.
Curtis's, it was. It's fine now.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So as I was saying, Danba is like a staple, like a piece of Villain Fiverr history. Like this man played the rewind advantage. First of all, like he got voted out and was like, psych bitch, and like literally rewound time, which overpowered advantage, awful advantage, like bad piece of Villain Fiverr history, except for it brought Dan back. And then like played an idol.
Still there?
Did is anyone talking?
I think Ashley's mic might have cut out after saying something about Dan playing an idol.
Oh.
So yeah, so back in season 3, we had after the rewind advantage, we also had the idol play from Dan. Only for Dan to ultimately fall like in one of several wild tribals in the uh, right around the midpoint of season 3. But now we have Dan back. Dan has read the criticism in Spec Lounge and elsewhere, gotten about another year's worth of experience under his belt, and is coming back with a desire to go beyond the Danbot, or at the very least to have massively upgraded his social software. And honestly, it does seem like he's off to a pretty good start. Like Dan seems to be making like real connections with people that are a little bit less robotic than they have been in the past, even if in confessional, he's still demonstrating like, look, I'll cut anyone I have to. Like he's still showing that signature ruthlessness, but he's keeping it a little bit more for the confessional this time around. And he's managing to be like a little bit more personable, a little bit more charming, a little bit more social with his tribe mates. So I do think that Dan is like one of our top players to watch for this time, because Dan has always had like the strategic side, the calculating side, and the ruthlessness to, when he sees the clear line from A to B, to take that clear line even if it hurts. And the fact that he has the ability to charm people more than he had the previous time, mixed with still having the ability to see that bright line, makes me think that he's like honestly one of our winner contenders on this season.
Yeah. I think that Dan's gonna go pretty far. The only thing that I'm worried about from him, um, he like today at Tribal, he admitted that he didn't have a vote, and he was kind of making it obvious that he was working with certain people. I do think that he's showing that he's a little too comfortable. So, like, I like his confidence, but I also do think that it might be his downfall.
Yeah, I could believe that.
But I could see him winning or getting like final 5-ish.
Yeah, I could definitely see a world where he ends up being like that jury threat who gets cut right in those, fallen angel 6 to 4 kind of spots. For sure.
What I find interesting about his position right now is that um Jason's like doing all the hard work for him, and he's getting to claim it.
That's a good observation. Yeah, I can see that. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Any more thoughts on Dan, Ashley, before we move to our next contestant? Looks like we're getting a little bit of technical trouble with Ashley's microphone at the moment. So we'll go ahead and fling things forward to Disc, our next contestant up here.
I
So
love
Disc
this.
was on our most recent season, season 8, and
Uh,
infamously got. Oh, welcome back, Ashley.
thank you.
Any closing thoughts on Dan before we move on to Disc?
No, I'm not caught up on confessionals that you guys were talking about.
All right. So striding forward then to Disc. Disc was on our most recent season, season 8, where he was an absolutely brutal victim of a challenge throw by the Majority Alliance during a particularly unfortunate swap. So Disc is one of the players that the fans have been clamoring to see back here on this season. Roman, go ahead and start us off with your thoughts on Disc here.
Oh my god, I love Disc. Like he's he has a lot of. I mean, he's very hesitant, I would say, but he's smart about the game, like the moves that he makes. He got one of the paragliders for the team captains thing, and he did get a little bit fucked with tribes. Like, I think that he's in a good position. I think that he has the social game and strategy to get himself out of it, but like right now it's not looking that great for him. However, like if his tribe just keeps winning or whatever, I do think that he could get maybe till final 9-ish. I feel like he's gonna be one of those players that builds up a threat. Like he's good at managing himself, but I don't know. I kind of see him getting robbed again.
Um, Elk, if by the fans won't keep clamoring the same back, you mean the hosting team, then yeah, the fans. But yeah, um, Disc I think is my winner pick. But the more that I think about it, the more I don't think he fits in with this cast. Um, so I don't actually know like how well he'll do. And I have no idea what's been happening in the game, so I can't speak on that. But like, he's an okay social player. He's a much better strategist. I think he's a good social player with the right people. He doesn't have that ability to just make amazing conversation with everyone. Like there are certain people who like if there's someone who's dry, like it doesn't matter. Like they can keep up a conversation. With Disc, I think like if someone is dry, like he's gonna give dry energy back. And like that, not like there's nothing like wrong with that. Like not everyone is like a social like god or goddess. Um but like I just like don't see that faring well for him with this cast, and I can't say exactly why. It's just like vibes. But like if he can get past that, I think he'll do well. I certainly think he's deserving of a second chance given the way that he went out. It's just I don't know that I don't know. I get like pre-merge vibe, unfortunately.
So here's the thing. If I looked at this cast on paper, just who was in this cast, like I look at this and I would see that Disc is probably one of the better players on this cast. a reasonably social person who, at least based on what we saw from his first time around, like had a good sense of positioning, of maneuvering, got himself to a pretty good spot before things unwound due to things that were almost impossible for him to control for. So I would be coming in extremely high on Disc's chances to win this game. And I see what Ashley says about the fact that there's some people he just doesn't vibe with. But I feel like enough of this cast falls into the types of people that I could see Disc vibing with that I would think he'd be well positioned to overcome that. The one thing we have seen so far, as of the time we're recording this, shortly after the end of the first episode of the season, is that Disc unfortunately ended up making a mistake as the caller for his tribe in the first challenge and is under a little bit of heat as a result. He was able to survive the first vote, but I think the mistakes that he made during the first challenge hurt his social standing within his starting tribe, despite the fact that he, was the tribe captain who was able to pick the tribe. And ultimately, he's going to need to realize that he needs to branch out from his tribe and quickly, especially from Jason, and not be in a position where he's relying on Jason. And while I think that Disc probably has what it takes to pick up that read, I'd be worried for what happens if he doesn't. That said, I do see Disc at least making the merge, but I think that Disc could be one of our like shortly after the merge boots, one of those, you know, early merge kind of players, depending on how things play.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, I definitely think I should have chosen a different winner pick. I'm sorry, Disc. I love you. I'm sorry. It's not your fault.
I'm sticking with my Disc winner pick. I think I don't know. I had him last season as my winner pick, and he didn't win, but I'm still gonna keep him.
Well, I admire the courage to stand by your pick.
Yeah.
From there, we'll move to one of our OG players. We have Ethan coming all the way back from season 1, joining us here again in season 9. So, since Ashley was the only one of the three of us actually here for season 1, why don't you start us off talking about Ethan?
Yes. So, Ethan, in his original season, he didn't start out in a great position. Uni will remember because Uni was the target of his rage. Someone voted for him at the first tribal council, and he could not let it go. He could not. He could not. He just was like obsessing over it for episodes upon episodes, and it made everyone be like, "Get out of here! Get out of town, buddy! You are annoying. We can't have you here." And like people were literally like people who weren't even his allies were like, "You need to chill out. You need to chill out." And this is like his second org ever. The first org was one that we had played together, and he was like this huge hero. And so like he literally like pulled in Eric from Micronesia, his first org. So like yeah, he was not going out, and I think he thought it was Uni, so he kept targeting Uni, and everyone loved Uni, and they were like, "You better not go after her." Like, you better not. He was like, "I don't care. I'm going after her. She wrote my name down," and everyone was like, "It doesn't matter. It literally does not matter." And so yeah, that happened, and then there was this joint tribal, and he was like on the bottom, and he's like, "Listen, I'm gonna like I think what he did what did he do? I can't remember if he flipped on someone from his own tribe or if he got them to vote on someone from their tribe. Either way, he got the numbers to vote off a very powerful player, Elliot. And it was like it changed the course of the game because Elliot was this huge power player who everyone thought, was on track to win. He was a contender. Right as he gained power, and unfortunately, that power did not last long. And Ethan got voted out the vote right before. So he's like almost 2 years ago, like a year and a half ago. So he's learned a lot. He's played a lot more. I know that this matters a lot to Ethan. He's wanted to come back. He cares a lot, and I think that drive is really gonna make Ethan perform really well. I am scared that he'll overplay, not in like an insulting way, just play a little bit, but I have high hope. I think Ethan's gonna do well, and I know that he can social game pretty well, but he is young. I think there's immature sometimes. Not in like a
So
Yeah.
one of the things here with Ethan is that Ethan is honestly one of the players on this cast that I have the hardest time like making heads or tails of. Like, I agree, Ethan is coming in feeling like he has a lot to prove and is coming in with a lot of determination. Um, and Ethan seems to have like at least a decent amount of social charm and ability to connect with people. So, in that sense, I feel like Ethan is reasonably well set up to be like the sort of social player everyone loves who will get in with the right people, like advance his place in the game, keep things moving in a way that is beneficial to his game. What I'm not convinced of in terms of Ethan is I haven't seen a whole lot yet in terms of how he talks about the game in his interview and what I've heard about his past games that Ethan is going to have like the standout like strategic mindset. I'm I feel like we still need to see more from Ethan to be convinced in terms of his strategic abilities, in terms of his abilities to figure out what the right moves at the right time are for his game. I do believe that his social game will put him in a position where he will have some wiggle room, but I think his strategic game may put him in a position to need the wiggle room that his social game gives him. Um, I don't have the highest hopes for Ethan overall in this game, but it also wouldn't leave me completely blindsided if he did manage to succeed.
Um, I I don't really think that he's doing that great right now. I feel like he's kind of towards the bottom of his tribe. I do think that he has a good social game though. I do think he'll be able to pick it up. Um, I could see him making it to merge just because he's not threatening. Or I could see him being a GOAT. I don't know much about his original season, but he's not really giving me like power player yet. Like things change over the season, but that's like my mindset right now. He's kind of like neutral for me, I would say.
Actually, you cut out in the middle of your thoughts on Ethan. Were there
I
any other things you wanted to say
said
about
about
Ethan?
what was the last thing you heard?
You were talking about how like last time around that he, had uh pulled the Eric from Micronesia, that he, came back wanting to prove a lot, that he seemed to like uh had a lot that he wanted to prove, things like that.
Okay. Yeah. Um, yeah. So I was just saying that like I think that he because of that I think that drive will put him in a position where he will learn well and y'all are doing your cast assessment different how I'm doing mine. So like I think that based on that I think that he will make the merge this time. He'll achieve what he didn't in his first season.
I I could see it happening. Like I think he's got enough capability that, if he makes the right connections with the right people, he'll be able to get through to merge. That makes sense to me. Um, from there, we move to another player from our most recent season, Ginger, one of the most popular players from season 8. Why don't you go ahead and give us your thoughts on Ginger, Ashley?
So yeah, Ginger is definitely gonna be in contention for fan favorite along um, like Ginger definitely has the character. Um Ginger has the social game for sure. But so much social game that I think people are gonna be like, Ginger's a threat. And the thing is, Ginger does have strategy, but Ginger's strategy isn't refined enough that it's undetectable, if that makes sense. Like whenever Ginger tries to pull off strategy, people it's good, but people are like, oh, Ginger is trying to pull off strategy and it's good. We need to get Ginger out. So Ginger is going to make merge for sure, but Ginger is a mid merge boot.
I kind of think that Ginger's just gonna shoot himself in the foot again. I think that he's off to like a stronger start than he was in season 8. Um, but I do think that he's one of the more entertaining players at the moment. So I do think he's gonna keep going good. Like I think he's gonna make it past merge and everything.
So I'm gonna say that don't sleep on Ginger. Like,
No, for
I
sure.
have extremely high hopes for Ginger in this season. I think that Ginger is like a player who showed a lot of promise his first time around. And not only that, but seems like from everything he said in the pregame press in his interview and everything, like that he has thought long and hard about why things didn't go his way the first time around and is coming back with the desire to make it right, to take the things that went wrong for him, adapt to them, overcome them, and make things go better this time around. And I think he can do it. Like, he was in a great spot until not telling his alliance he wasn't voting with them and blowing up all of his trust over the course of a single episode. And having seen like the way that a mistake like that affected his game, like Ginger is back and ready to put this game to pieces. And I would absolutely have Ginger like towards the top of my board for winner picks, like easily one of the 3 or 4 people I could most easily see winning this game because he has that natural charisma. He has that like shrewd strategic mind, and he has the knowledge of where things went wrong on his first try to be able to make them go right this time around.
I think that that's going to make him too tenacious. I don't know.
I think I either see him getting like a close placement to what he had his original season, or I see him winning. Like, there's no in between for me. I don't see him making it to FTC and losing.
Yeah, no way he makes it to FTC and loses. He's too charismatic.
Could you see him being like sixth, fifth, fourth kind of, jury threat boot?
I see him being 7th.
Yeah, 7th. I don't see anyone letting him get further than 7th.
Yeah, that path checks out to me. Well, a few moments ago, we talked about Ethan, who had a lot to demonstrate differently this time around compared to his first season. And from there, we go to the person who came in wanting more than probably anyone else on this cast to demonstrate that he could do better than he did the first time around, which is, of course, Jack, our first boot from season 5, back to give it another go, and has already managed to avoid repeating his unfortunate fate. So, what are our thoughts on Jack at this time?
Jackie boy.
Jack's in a really good position. I think he's a really good contender right now. He's doing good at the Safari. His tribe setup that he got was pretty good. That he made. I mean, what else? Like, he's doing pretty good socially.
I agree. I'm impressed with Jackie Poo. I would say that Jack is. My worry for Jack is that he might overplay later on.
Yeah.
At the merge, I think I'm optimistic that he'll make the merge. I think he has a pretty good chance of doing that. He just has to kind of learn to chill. That's going to be his challenge, I think. He could find a nice little middle spot, and if he gets in a swap or merge, and he just able to relax and play the social game and not be bogged down in his own mind, I think he will do well.
I think the thing that I'm most worried about him is like him being nervous over things, because he was even nervous about being the team captain, and then he was nervous about doing the emoji for the first challenge.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of my fear, as I think he has a little bit of like fear from his first adventure where it didn't go too well. I think he's just kind of scared that it's going to happen again. So I think he just needs to get in the better headspace. I think he just needs to get his head in the game, get his head out of the gutter. Just, he's already exceeded his performance, so upwards trajectory. So he just needs to probably improve his mindset and be able to just play a calm game, and I think he will.
Let me make sure that Mr. Resident Dick Rider is not in the audience.
No, he's not.
Yeah, no. That was a joke. But Yeah, no, Jack, I mean, very controversially, I placed Jack pretty high in my player rankings on his first season. So, like, obviously, I think very highly of Jack's gameplay. Like, Jack is definitely a social player, but even in his first season, he demonstrated that he has strategic mindset. He was pulling out, like, am I am I like coming in clearly?
Yeah.
Okay. So like he was demonstrating like he will pull out all the stops if he has to. Like Jack is determined. Jack like will do what it takes to win this game. And that is what we want to see. Jack is team TV without like being OTTN about it. Which,
I,
you know, like that can be fun, but like Jack's version is Jack is team TV. Jack is team TV, but like in a main character way. Like
yeah. Oh yeah. Go ahead.
and like he is so much fun. Like Jack is just so much fun, but he's also like good at the game. Like he's literally going to be our main character of the season. I'm calling it. Jack is our main character. Like Jack is giving winner. Jack is giving winner. Dare I say? I'm saying it. I'm saying it. You heard it here first. Jack is giving winner. So that's my opinion.
Hot and cold feedback. Hot and cold feedback. Hot feedback. I agree. I think his player ranking on season 5 was appropriate. He's not a bad player by any means. That was kind of a whack cast, and Jack just got really unlucky with not even, it was like IRL stuff. So I would definitely agree with that. Cold feedback. I don't know if Jack wants to be team. I don't think that's what he wants. And
Not.
No.
I don't think it is. I don't think it should be what he wants. Because I think you're right. I think that's his trapping. I think he might pull out. I might, all it takes is for him to get a little nervous in a sticky spot, and he tries to pull out some big strategy, and it backfires. I'm a little worried about that personally.
Yeah, at this point, I still consider myself a little bit skeptical about Jack. I think that we saw again from what he demonstrated his first time around, what we saw in the interviews, that he has, number one, obviously a pretty big personality, some great social charm, ability to connect with people, and not even like terrible strategy. His strategic side is pretty decent, but the thing is that he's kind of transparent about it, and people do see through it sometimes. He's got the ability to get the right reads on game situations, again, from what we saw in its very limited first time around. But he doesn't have the execution of what to do with his reads, even when his reads are right. And I'm a little worried that we're going to see a world where he figures out what's going on, which makes him threatening to one of the real power players in this game in a way that will cause him to get taken out by them. So while I think he will have the ability to make it at least to like the early merge or something, I think that this cast is just a little bit above his level. Not to say that he's a terrible player overall. Like if we had a weaker cast, I would be very optimistic about his chances. But I think this cast has enough players capable of seeing through him that I think that eventually the wheels come off the train.
Um, my opinion on him is that I just think he's a very genuine character with like genuine player and character. I don't think that he's trying to be over the top or anything. I think that's just his personality. He's very entertaining without effort and everything. But I do think that he's gonna be pretty nervous about the moves that he makes. I see him playing the middle throughout the season.
I agree.
I think he might get in trouble for doing that too.
Yeah, Jack is he's gonna want to stir the pot a little bit, and he's gonna want to
Yeah.
be good with everybody, and they're gonna see it. A big personality, and it won't end well. I think Jack is gonna make the merge, but I'm a little if he can get past that final 10 through 8 spot, he might be home free. But other than that, I worry. I think that might be the spot he goes. So third or fourth, this second to fourth to jury is my estimate. But if he makes the end, I think he will win.
I think he could be a winner candidate down the stretch if he manages to like escape by without his spot getting blown up. Sure.
Nah, y'all are being too humble. Jack is the winner. We don't even need to have the season. Jack already won.
What makes you say that?
Cause it's Jack.
What makes you say that?
Don't go all therapist on me. Like,
What makes you say that?
okay, we're ready to move on.
All right. After Jack, we go to our next season 3 returnee, Jason. Arguably the biggest personality in this entire cast, and we've been seeing it yet again. The reasons why Jason is one of the most memorable players in the history of Villainviver. Jason's personality bounces off the walls like a Gak Splat ball. Just everywhere you look, Jason has said something else that makes you look again. And it's honestly so wonderful to get to see Jason back on this season. And you'll never not get big character moments from Jason. But in addition to the big character moments, in addition to that core sweetness and kindness that makes everyone want to be Jason's friend, we're already seeing little hints of that danger in his gameplay, that sense of decisiveness, that sense of here is the thing that I want, how do I make it happen? Where I really think that Jason is coming back with a vengeance, having a lot to prove, despite getting third, being seen as having played a game that was not a game that at least some portions of the Clanchen analysis were impressed by, and saying, look, I can be just as big of a personality while playing one of the best games on this season. And I think that's what they're here to do. I think Jason is here to take no prisoners, to destroy this game in both a player and a character sense, and just go all out and make this the season of Jason.
Yeah.
Season
Yeah,
of-
Jason's gonna be the
Jason.
main character. Yeah.
Jason is going to flop.
No, Jason's gonna be the main character, and I think Jason's gonna be the person that wins fan favorite, if I'm being honest.
Jason will place very similarly to how he did the first time. And I think he got 10th or something.
No.
Was that
No.
the first
Jason got third.
Oh, he got third?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of someone else. I don't see that at all this time. I think Jason's gonna.
I think Jason burns out early because
Yeah.
he's way too I mean, he's in a good spot, but too much, like, he's gonna burn out real
I
fast.
agree. Jason's gonna be our mayor of Ponderosa. That's what's gonna happen. You're cutting out.
I think Ashley's trying to say something, but her microphone's having
Ashley
trouble.
doesn't agree, but I can't really hear what she's saying.
Oh my god!
Ashley doesn't agree, but I don't know.
Tigers, is she barking?
Yeah, I think Jason's gonna get like 10th or 11th.
Yeah, I see him being pretty early because I feel like he's gonna get such a big threat level.
Well, what if he wins every immunity challenge? Like Zap.
Then he can He can go to FTC.
Yeah, then he'll win. Oh wait, no, he
Yeah.
won't win. He won't win in that situation.
Why not?
Zap didn't win.
Oh, Jason's different.
Okay. Yeah. Well, no, wait, no. What if Curtis is Izzy? What if Curtis is Izzy? What if it's
Wait,
a
wait, 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 wait,
situation?
wait, wait, wait. What if it's a furry final three?
Oh my god. Yes.
That's what we need. That's what we need.
Furry final three. Honestly, it's about time we had some representation. Villain Viber.
Wait, who's the third furry?
Dan.
And
Den-
Yeah, the Furry
Danoosh?
Alliance. Danoosh. Yeah.
Danbot? Danbot is
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he's a furry.
yes,
a furry. He is.
I think so. I mean, he's aligned with the furries. He's aligned with the furries.
That doesn't make him.
Oh,
a
he's an honorary furry. He's an honorary furry.
Izzy and Zap aren't furries.
They are.
Anyway,
All right. With that said,
Anyway, yeah, Jason. All right, go ahead, Ashley.
to Jason. I was just gonna say, like, with Jason, like, no, I, I'm the person who is the most outspoken about Jason in his first season, who is like, yes, Jason is like one of the best characters of Villain Viver's history. But Jason is also one of the biggest goats of Villain Viver history. It cannot be ignored. And that pisses Jason off to no end. Oh, Jason cannot stand it. But it's the truth. And I like that because it has set this fire under Jason's little furry ass. And he has ran to prove me wrong. And I love that, because they've come in and they have look at all what they've done. I don't know what they've done, but from what I've heard, it's like great shit and they're like running shit. And, so like, the issue is they're kind of pulling an Ashley and they're thinking that they need to do a bunch of shit pre-merge. And it's like, who cares about pre-merge? Like, you don't do shit pre-merge, you do shit merge. And that's going to come back and bite them. And I agree, they're going to get like 10th. But, they're still like doing really well because what fucked them over is like, they got so wrapped up in this show, man. Oh my gosh, one of the best showmances of Villain Viber.
Oh great, we don't.
Is uni. What are they called? Jablu from season 3. Jason and Blue. They
Who could forget?
Because Uni is talking to me in Trusted Spec Chat. So they met in the safari and they hung out at the fireplace and they just whispered sweet nothings in one another's ears. And Jason, while Blue went and dominated the whole game, Jason was just obsessed with Blue, and Blue was the only thing Jason cared about. And that's all Jason cared about. And my favorite thing ever, one of my favorite quotes of myself from season 3 was like, Jason has spent more time talking to his confessional than he has to the other players in the game.
Well,
and it's true.
Can I just say?
Yeah.
Can I just say, if that is what Jason did last time, very bad feeling about this time, because that is exactly what he's doing with Curtis! Curtis is the new Blue!
Well, Curtis is a minor.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But, wait, isn't Jason a minor?
Jason is not. Jason's 18 or 19.
Okay, well then, maybe not in that sense, but in the sense that Jason's gonna be super loyal and like Curtis is a YouTuber, so Jason's like a fan. So I feel like Jason's gonna be super loyal.
Oh
might
my
be the
god,
same
Jason
problem.
is a fan of Curtis. Oh my god, you're right. Jason is a fan of Curtis.
Yeah, I think that situation might repeat itself. In a way.
Oh, Uni. They both had or wait, no, Jason didn't have a boyfriend, but Blue had a boyfriend in season 3.
What?
No, it was literally a showmance. They weren't like actually like into each other. But yeah, that I know, but I think Jason is like taking it like more seriously. This
I think so too. I do think.
time. Yeah.
I do. Sorry, I do think the alliance he's in is strong. They gamed that first vote pretty well. The two of them didn't have votes. It was just Jason who had a vote. He did get the vote from Sophie, but whatever. I think he's positioned well. We'll see how he does at the swap, but I think he's been doing well socially, but he might be a little bit cliquey. That might be his weakness right now. I think he's isolating.
Oh yeah.
He's isolating the boomers, which are Disc and Outlaw a little bit. But
Bro, Disc is not a boomer. Shut up.
we'll get to them. But anyway, yeah, I feel like Jason is gonna play harder this time. I think he's gonna want to make more moves, but I worry about his longevity.
I've also played with Jason like twice before, and you're right with the clicky. Like Jason does play clicky. He does. And he also is very like OTT in the fact that like he was straight up an asshole to me. Like I literally was like scrambling, and he was like being a dick to me for no reason. Like we went from being allies to like he knew that he was voting me out, and he was like running me in circles, and then was like, "Oh, you're trying not to go home, aren't you? That's so cute." And I was like,
What the fuck?
"Fuck you."
You didn't vote for him in the jury, did you?
He didn't make it to the end.
Oh, good. Yeah, that doesn't. The more you talk about him, the more I'm confident he's not gonna win.
Yeah, I don't think Jason is winning.
Yeah. Oh well. Who?
I mean, I do have high hopes of Jason like making it to late merge. Like I don't think
Oh, jeez.
I don't think they win, but I do think that Jason like again, assuming that Jason keeps some of the highest peak level of paranoia and scheming to the confessional rather than the DMs, I feel like Jason can get to like final 7 to 5 kind of range, and it wouldn't shock me. And all the while being one of the biggest characters along the way.
I think so. I have that problem myself. I sometimes scheme a little too much in DMs, and I'm a little too paranoid in there. So hopefully he does do that. Shall we move on?
Sure. So taking off from our conversation about Jason, we have Jet Skylark,
Oh,
the most
yes.
legendary confessionalist in Villain Viver history, back to give things another go.
Jet. Oh, goodness. I love Jet, but Jet. The thing about Jet is, his confessionals are very colorful. He's very creative, and he's very kind. But Jet is not the most cutthroat of strategists. He's a loyal guy. He's very loyal to his allies, and he doesn't do a ton of scheming. Really, he's pretty straightforward from when I played with him. And on season 5, he was pretty much a straightforward guy. He didn't do a whole lot of scheming. He was pretty loyal. So I think if he can find a good alliance, he can go far. But I think he lacks the killer instinct. I think he won't be able to pull the trigger. And I worry for his win equity if he's up against some pretty big threats. If he's up against some weaker players, I think he can make the end pretty easily, and I think he can win there through having a good social game. But he's not the most dynamic, and I do worry about that in this cast.
Yeah, like with Jet, love Jet, adore Jet. Like, Jet is one of my favorite human beings. Is Jet gonna do well on this season?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm of two minds. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think Jet's gonna be a goat. I do.
Hmm.
I do. I do.
Oh.
I hate to say it. I hate to say it. I
I
hate to
don't
say
think
it.
he's a good. He could get some jury votes. I think this cast is. There's some goats here. Like there's some people who are not going to win. And Jet, I would not list among them. I think he might have a uphill battle, depending on what happens. But I think he can find his footing, and I think he can win. It's just, is he gonna? Does he have that killer instinct? That's what he's gonna need here.
And no, he
Yeah,
wouldn't
I don't think
have
he has it.
believed in himself.
I think he's a little bit of a softie. They do.
Yeah,
I think
he's just yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, Alec.
I have pretty high hopes for Jet overall, but I do think there's two major concerns that I have, which is one, that as Ashley and Jara have been saying, Jet probably lacks a little bit of that most killer of instincts that Jet will get as far as his social game, as his friendliness, as his affability can take him, and will make quite the path through this game on the back of those things, on the back of being a person who is beloved. But I agree that he's unlikely to see the moment when he needs to make the harsh move, the cruel move, the ruthless move. And on top of that, I think that Jet's likability is ultimately potentially his downfall because
Yeah.
it will make him transparently a jury threat in the late game. I think
However,
that there's a world where Jet can make it deep, like even as late as like Final 9, Final 7, maybe Final 5 if everything lines up right. But if Jet can't comp out and doesn't have the ruthlessness to take out the right people, he'll have a hard time pulling in the trophy at the
you
end.
know what, Elk? Considering this cast, there's a lot of social players. There's a lot of people who are going to be loud. There's a lot of people who might stomp on some feelings. I don't know. I think Jet has enough shields. I do. I think he has the path, and I think I think he is gonna know his best move. He might. I don't think he's gonna chicken out. I just I'm not sure. I think he's not a bad pick. It just, is he gonna be quick on the draw? Is my question. Which I'm not sure. When I played with him, I definitely. The reason he went and I didn't was because I basically was just way more ready to, bust some eggshells, and he was more calm. That's kind of why he went. So if he's in a tight
Oh, yeah.
situation with a close vote, someone else is going to dump on him. I don't think he's going to be able to counter. However, there's people who are going to be bigger and louder, and Jet is good socially. And I would argue not in a way that he's going to get targeted. I don't think that will create a target on him. I think he will be able to
No.
manage that.
Yeah.
No.
He's good socially in a way where people just like being around him.
But there's a lot of people like that on the cast.
Yeah, I think that can get him far. I just think when you get down to those like final couple votes before you face the jury is where that likability becomes a liability.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he's gonna be seen as a goat. People
No.
are, but maybe he can pull it off because they're gonna see him as like, yeah, Jet is likable, but he's not gonna be able to pull off like a killer FTC.
I think he's a great writer. What do you mean?
He is, but they don't know that.
Well, he'll show them. I think he can make a very good speech. I disagree. That's the one thing he definitely can do.
Okay, but if he writes his speech in the format of a story, is the jury gonna like that?
How could you not vote for that? How could you not vote for that? Come on. No, I don't think he will, though. I don't think he would. I think he breaks character for FTC, and I don't think he would do that. But persuasive. Jet, I would say, is middle of the list. He's not top of the list, but he's not bottom of the list. There's some equity there. It's just gonna take some elbow grease. Hello.
All right. From there, we'll move on to our next contestant then, who is Jordan, the lone representative
Lord.
from season 7
Jordan.
on this cast.
Jordan.
Sounds like you have some thoughts, J-Ro. Sounds like you have
No,
some thoughts.
I like Jordan. Flame out at he's
Mhm.
gonna get roughly the same placement is my estimation. He might get farther. I think he'll get farther. I think he will get slightly farther, but he won't win, and I don't think he'll come close. Because the thing with Jordan, there's a long pause there. The thing with Jordan is he is the type of player who likes to micromanage. He does do that.
Yep.
And based on
Yeah.
what he's been doing so far, he has not learned his lesson. He's doing it again, and this time they're catching on right away. And that's not good. But go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, Jordan is, Jordan is just so OTTPP that
Yeah.
he's like in your face, and it's like, is this guy real? Like, is he like a real person?
Yeah.
It's like it's a little scary sometimes. It's a little intimidating.
Oh yeah.
And it feels like he's trying to control you.
Oh yeah.
And he is like, he's so positive, and that's his form of control.
Jordan
Like,
he's like a Boston Rob type player a little bit.
is Boston Rob like super positive?
No,
or
but
something?
the way no, that's the difference. He likes to control the tribe and play that kind of game. But he is very positive. But he's a controlling player. Is my point.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I don't know, like, he's very social. Oh my god, like, Jordan is like top tier social player, but it's in a way that's see-through, similar to Logan from last season.
He's not top tier. He's having some trouble already. And in season 7, he had those same troubles. He connected good with some people, but with other people, very much no. He was kind of hit or miss. Right now, he seems a little bit hit or miss, and I think people are clocking him pretty quickly. I mean, Seabass is already kind of clocking him.
See,
Oh, I thought they were flirting.
They were, but he's also clocking him and saying and reading him correctly. So I don't know about Jordan.
Well, no, that's what I meant. That's what I meant, like, similar to Logan last season, like,
Yeah.
where they both come
Yeah.
off as like where they come off as like so charming that it's like you can tell that they're a really good social player, but in a way where they're transparent.
Yeah,
about
Jordan is very similar to Logan. You're right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
see, here's this thing with Jordan, right? J-Rose mentioned a couple times. There's a couple people on this cast with goat-like tendencies. And
Yeah.
ultimately, I think that Jordan can be the shepherd of the goats. I think that Jordan can be the one who rounds up the goats and says, "You belong to me now."
Yes.
Jordan's the one who's cheer captain while they sit on the bleachers. Like, "You belong to me," is what Jordan is going to be saying to all of them on this cast.
Good. That was good.
And I honestly see Jordan as being the person who can capitalize on the opportunity that this cast provides. I really think that Jordan is going to be a long-term power player in this game. And yes, there's some people in this cast who might catch on. And I think that will be their downfall rather than Jordan's. The ones who catch on, become the ones that the goats get sicked on.
Yeah.
No.
Oh my god, are we talking Paul from BB19?
No. Oh my God, no. Jordan is not that good. Jordan is not that good. The thing about Jordan is, look, the goats are not on his tribe. B, the goats already have their shepherds. C, Jordan is gonna overplay. He's not. No, he's gonna be the merge boot.
Oh, I can see merge boot for Jordan for
Yes.
sure.
Yes. Yes. I don't know.
I mean,
Jordan
look,
can win.
Jordan is absolutely going to be building a house of cards in a burning building over the course of this game. Like, he is going to be walking the tightrope with a razor balanced on the tip of his nose. It is not going to be an easy journey for Jordan, but it's going to be one of those things that will work until and unless it doesn't. He's going to be the person that the eyes are on, because like just even seeing the way he is in his confessional, in his video confessionals, in the video portions of his interview, he has that that natural charisma, that natural ability to connect with people. And it is already starting to work its magic on this cast to some extent. And sure, there's some people who are a little suspicious of it. But the moment when any sort of downfall goes against Jordan is going to be a turning point in this season, because right up until that point, Jordan is going to be one of the gravity wells that this season shapes itself around.
I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. I don't think he's that good. I don't. I think we have a lot of players who are going to outplay him, and that is the truth. I think we have some real sharks on this cast, and I don't know. I don't know if Jordan's a shark. I think he's a whale. And whales
Damn.
are pretty.
Damn, J
Sharks eat the whales. You know what I mean?
Do sharks?
He's a big
eat
guy.
whales?
He's a big guy, but he doesn't have the maneuverability of a shark. I think he's gonna get pulverized. I think they're gonna walk all over him at the merge. It's my guess. But I think he can. He does have a good social game. I think he can connect himself. But what happens with Jordan? We saw it. We saw it happen. He gets tunnel vision. He does. He targets one person. He targets one person and he goes very hard. Remember when he targeted Joaquin and he told everybody to target Joaquin and it didn't work? And then he targeted me. He told everyone to target me and it didn't work in time. It failed. I don't know. He's got to pick the right mark because he wants to unify everybody, but it's not going to happen. And he needs to learn that. So he needs.
Well, maybe.
Sorry, go ahead.
Maybe he has.
Yeah, I think he has.
Just saying, maybe he has learned that.
Yeah, hopefully. I think he has learned, and he just needs to not micromanage. That's what he needs to learn. He needs to not. He needs to exert some control, but he needs to let others control. And I think that way he can get pretty far. He needs to turn it on and off when he needs to.
It'll definitely be interesting to watch and see what happens with Jordan. From there, we'll move on to the most recent former host on this cast, who is Malik.
Oh.
And it is going to be quite interesting to see what happens with Malik this season. Obviously, Malik is one of the biggest personalities in the entire server of Villainviver, both during his season and outside of it, in his time as a spec, in his time as a host. Malik is quite a massive personality, and I'm curious to see what becomes of his game this time around. What are you two thinking in terms of what you're expecting from Malik here?
I think Malik is a shrewd.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead, Ashley. Go ahead. Ladies first.
J-Ro, that was an intense way to start. I was just gonna say, Elk, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on your boyfriend first.
Well, Mal can go first. Okay.
So honestly, what I've seen so far from Malik this season is that he's been turning the charm up to 11 and had like all three captains wanting to pick him very, very early in their tribe draft, which I think says a lot about the sort of connections he was able to make during the marooning phase. But multiple people were already starting to catch on a little bit too. That like Malik has the charm, but like we were talking about in ways like Logan from last season, people are starting to see that charm, especially when so much of that charm is happening in public chats and people are saying like, wow, look at how hard Malik is trying during this marooning phase. Look at how hard Malik is trying to talk to other people in this safari.
Yeah.
And sure, it wasn't everyone who was mentioning it, but the fact that his social game is starting to get clocked that quickly makes me at least a little bit worried for how this game is going to go for him. I mean, I think he's going to make it a ways. Like I would see him looking at somewhere towards like the mid merge is what I'm expecting for Malik at this point. Somewhere between say 10th and 7th is what I'm currently like projecting at this point for Malik because I think he has the charm, the social game to get that far. But I think that with the amount of awareness there already is of how well he's socially gaming, that no one's going to let him sniff a jury.
Yeah.
Yeah, Malik
Go ahead.
he's in danger of getting. Yeah, he's in danger of getting that like getting clipped at the end. I think that is a danger. But what I will say about Malik is he can play under the radar pretty well. I think his social game was clocked a little bit. But he's on the tribe now, and he's kind of settling in. And on season 4, he was able to settle in pretty well. It was basically just Boofus beating the drum to get him out, and that was it. No one else was really looking at him until Boofus like railroaded people. So I don't know. Malik is able to play under the radar, and he's very experienced. He's played in a lot of games. He's a seasoned player. I think he knows what it takes to win. I know he has a habit of making it to the end and then not winning. But I think he's a shrewd strategist. I think he's cutthroat enough to know what to do. I don't think he's afraid to make the moves. And I think there's going to be people on this cast louder than him. Obviously he needs to manage his threat level, but I think he's capable of doing that. And yeah, he has shields. I think Malik is he's a winner candidate. I think he can win.
Yeah, so my opinion on Malik is that Malik. No, sorry,
That's
I'm
okay.
doing
I'm
something.
laughing.
My opinion of Malik is that he's definitely trying too hard, and it's gonna bite him in the ass. Like it's just, come on, it's not good, and that's
People gonna remember.
like these mistakes are that he's not gonna win. These mistakes are making it so he's not gonna win.
It's very early.
I hate to say it.
It's very early, Ashley. It's very early.
I know, but I think that I really think that these are like game breaking. Like I do. So anyway, but I'm someone who, I hate to say it, I'm not a Malik hater. I just have never understood Malik's game. I haven't. So, like you said, that means that Malik's game like is capable of being under the radar for sure. Which is good, and I think that is how you win Survivor. So I'm just curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, looking at the trust rankings of his tribe, it's very weird. I don't really know who goes at that tribal. I really don't. There's a chance he does get clipped pre-merge right now. I don't know. I think Malik is he's gonna have enough big personalities to kind of slide under the radar if he does make that merge phase, and I think he can make a deep run. He made a deep run before, and I think he can do it again. And if there's enough big boys at the ends, he can probably. I think he can get to the final tribal council. I think he can do that. He's not really a super high profile personality all the time. He's capable of. Sorry, my mic cut out. He's capable of reining that in. One thing he might need to be conscientious of is the flirting. If he does that, that might be a problem. Because people tend to target that. I don't know. You're right. He's a little bit high variance. I'm not really sure. Maybe he won't win. I don't know. I think he'll make the merch, and we'll see what happens. I think he can slide to the finals 7, and then we'll see if he can navigate past that.
I think it's going to be tough for him to navigate that end section, but I definitely think that it'll be interesting to see whether he manages it. And obviously, like in terms of what sort of season we would have, the season where Malik ends up being one of those final contenders right in the end stretch is one of the more exciting timelines this season could play out too.
I agree. I agree.
From there, before anyone makes the amount of talking that we were doing about Malik illegal, let's go ahead and talk about Outlaw.
Oh my god.
Flop. I don't have a lot of faith in Outlaw. I think he's a good strategist, but I don't know. He's already kind of not. He's kind of on the outs already. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Outlaw was, I love, like, Outlaw was our train wreck of the season in season 2. Like, I'm such an Outlaw stan, but he said that he was going to play more subdued this season.
He's achieved
a little
that
more.
So far. I think he's been subdued so far, but it didn't work. That's actually bad, and I'll explain that in a moment. But go on.
Right. Like it's I don't know. I again, similar to what I was saying with Disc, like I just don't think that this is the cast for him. Like I don't think that it's gonna work. I don't think it's the right cast.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing I worry about is I think Outlaw's gonna lose his patience, and I think he's gonna have a tribal blow up at some point.
Are y'all ready for one of the hot takes of the night?
Yeah, you think Outlaw's gonna win?
Outlaw is going to repeat his placement of second place.
Second place, you think?
I
Second place.
Yep, I think that Outlaw is at this point in time going to be playing like a game that keeps him around for a long while.
He might try
But
to.
I don't think the game he's playing is going to get him like the greatest amount of respect at the end, and he's going to end up in an end game where he runs out of people that he can. I think that to some extent, right, the 1 year older Outlaw looking back trying to tamp down the chaos is going to end up going too far in tamping down the chaos, is going to end up playing a weaker version of AU Sean's game from season 8, where he sticks to the tack of being everyone's number 3 and no one's number 1, coasting along without a ton of agency in the game, but without ever being at the top of anyone's target list, and is suddenly going to be in a spot where it's like the final 6 and there's only one person left he can beat and won't be able to find a way to get to the end with exactly that one person, or like maybe there's 2 people left he can beat but one of those gets taken out. I think he's going to be the person who people will take to the end because he plays too safe of a game in trying to overcorrect for playing too chaotic of a game in season 2. And while I think he'll succeed surviving, I don't think he'll thrive.
Yeah. I can
Mm.
see that. I can see him overcorrecting. I don't think he has the patience to maintain this gameplay. I don't. I think he's gonna go back to his old ways halfway through, and he's gonna flame out.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna flame out, but like I don't know. I, I don't think he's gonna last very long.
Yeah, and let's just spoilers. Ooh. He flopped this round. Oh my god, what a misplay. And to be fair to him, he didn't know. And to be fair to, well, I don't know if we talked about this yet, but they both didn't know this. But they were in a 4-vote tribal where they had 3 of the votes, and they voted out Sophie, which I don't know how they didn't clock that Curtis, Jason, and Dan are an alliance. I don't know how they didn't clock that. I don't. It seems obvious, right? They're very similar. They're 3 very similar people. How you think they're not going to align? I don't know. I think they believed they had votes and they wanted to go with the numbers, but yeah, like that's embarrassing. They had no way. They had no way of
See,
knowing, but Jesus, yeah, outlaw. I don't know.
I see it differently. I think that yes, it is a mistake for Outlaw, but I don't think it's a game losing mistake. Right? I think that Outlaw, yes, is on the outs of this tribe, but if they go back to tribal and if that 3 holds, it'll be Disc going before
True.
Outlaw. And all Outlaw has to do is survive to a swap, like reshuffle the deck all of a sudden with a new group of people. I'm everyone's number 3 again. Oh look, all of a sudden we're at the merge. There's bigger targets all around me. Like Outlaw has room to hide, and even if he's on the outs, he's not dead. And I think that that is like right. His name is Outlaw, and he's fighting out in the Wild West. The sheriff and the posse are looking for him, but he's just off like rustling behind some
Oh
cactus,
god.
being like, "Yo, you can't see me. Like, look at that other gunman over there." Right? Like he's got all of the room in the world to hide, and they can pour through every saloon in town, taking out 15 other
Oh
ruffians
my
before
god.
him, and all of a sudden, like he's right there near the end and like ready for a showdown at high noon.
That's a possibility. I could see him. I could see him getting second. I think he's gonna trouble to connect with people. Uh, he's gonna. I don't know who he's gonna bond with really on the cast. If he does,
Yeah.
if he does make the ends, I don't think he'll win, and I struggle to think. I don't know who's gonna be his friend. Really don't. It sucks, but get good. Shall we move on? There's a new sheriff in
Oh my
town. Let's move
god.
Sure.
on.
Next we're gonna talk about Ebass
Oh boy.
here.
What do you think about Seabass Elk?
See, I feel like Seabass at this point in the season reminds me quite a bit in at least some ways of the style of personality that Jordan has to some degree, but without the amount of game sense that we get from Jordan and without the focus that we get from Jordan. I feel like Seabass is like almost the less focused, more chaotic version of Jordan in a way that I don't think necessarily bodes well for his game. Like, I think the differences between them are very important in terms of who in this cast they'll be able to connect with. I think that everything Seabass has, Jordan has better, except for like Seabass having slightly better production quality on his video confessionals.
Yeah.
Yeah, so doodle-doo. Seabass, I think he has more. I think he's like a shrewd strategist. I think he's very similar to Jordan, but he's going to be able to sit back better. He's going to be able to be calmer. He's going to be able to chill. And I think he's going to be able to ingratiate himself well. I see a deep run for Seabass, but I worry he is probably going to, again, struggle a little bit to navigate towards the latter, the final quarter. I think he might get clipped there. I think he might be one of the last people voted out. Or at a swap, he might be deemed a social threat. And I think he, more so than Jordan, he's a social threat. Because Jordan is kind of just like a messy, little bit chaotic sometimes. Seabass is a little bit more, gotta watch out for this guy, you know? Ashley? Well, that's my thoughts. I think he's going to be able to make good connections. I do. I worry. Yeah, he needs to just work out a good end game situation because I think he might have some trouble there. And I think, yeah, he just needs to like play the swap well, and he needs to kind of just manage his merge trajectory, and he might be a solid winner pick. I think there's a pretty good chance he wins if he makes it to the end. He's doing. I think he has the capability. I do. I have good feelings about him, but I think threat management, that's the kicker. There's a lot of big targets.
I mean, I'd love to see a world where he succeeds. I think we get a very fun season if he succeeds. I'm I'm a show me when it comes to Seabass. Like, if you show me, I will happily believe it. I need to see a little more before I'm convinced.
Um. Yeah, I agree. A lot of big targets that I think Seabass can hide behind, and I'm a little unsure about him. I think there's a lot of ways he can do. So that's my thoughts. I don't have a ton of opinions on Seabass, to be honest.
So is your mic working again?
Maybe not.
All right. Well, the rest of the season will tell us whether Sebastian's game is in fact above water or under the sea. But with that said, we'll move on to SERPs.
Herbs.
So SERPs comes to us all the way from season 2. Again, one of our real OG players compared to the rest of this cast. And aside from Curtis, SERPs was the player I was most skeptical of before the season started. But much like Curtis, SERPs has absolutely been bringing it so far this season. And I will again take the L and say, yes, I was wrong. I was wrong to be a SERPs doubter. I did not see enough from like what I had seen of season 2 combined with what I saw of SERPs' interview to believe. But now that I see SERPs in action, I get why the hype is there. I get why the hype is real. and I'm really, really excited to see what Serps makes of this season.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, yeah, Serps. He's kind of a nothing burger to me. I don't see Serps winning this game. I think Serps can make the end. That's end of statement. Can make the end. Uh,
See,
yeah, I don't know.
I feel like Serps, much like we said with Outlaw, is towards the bottom of his current situation, but is going to be one of the people who A, will still likely survive even if his tribe goes to tribal, and B, is going to be like in prime position to improve his spot in the game through whatever swaps come
Yeah,
up. He's got at least one person who'll go before him on his current tribe. He's got the ability and the personality to make new connections through the swap and to be at least starting off as a number who'll be picked up by someone else and then improve his position from there. So while his position looks a little bit in jeopardy at the moment, like he's got room to grow.
yeah. I mean, I think he could connect well with some of the people on the other tribe. I can see him. I could see him linking up with certain people for sure. He has some season 2 buddies on the other tribes, right? I don't think Outlaw is his buddy. I think Outlaw is someone who screwed him, right?
Yeah, I don't think he is on the best terms with either of the
Yeah.
other
Okay,
two
so that's
season
an
two
issue.
contestants.
He might. I don't know. I don't know about Serps. I think he can slide by. I see him as a pre-merge casualty personally. I do see him as a pre-merger. Um, might be one of those people at a swap. It's like, let's just get rid of him. Like whatever. Because he's not a shield. He's not a. He's not a shield. He doesn't add much. Doesn't. He's not a threat. Which might help him. I don't know if they're gonna clock the power structure over there right away at a swap, and if it just Serps kind of on his own, he's gonna be like, "Yeah, I liked everybody. They were all great." Like he's not gonna know, and they're gonna vote him out because of that, and then it's gonna be like, if he swaps with his friend, with his little tribe buddies, they're gonna they'll throw him under the bus in a pinch, and he won't know what to do. I don't know. I think Serps is gonna go home kind of early, personally. But if he makes the merge, I think deep run, but maybe not a winner.
Yeah, I still believe that he's got what it takes to right the ship a little bit to get back on the right track here. Um, I see what you're saying. Like, I do think there's a world where he just swaps badly and like there's no one to fight for him or even get thrown under the bus by members of his own tribe as they branch out to others. But I think he can still set his roots down and like reestablish himself in the game, sort of ingrain himself in their position after a swap. And I think he's well positioned enough in terms of having people who will go before him that he at least gets the chance to try and put those roots down.
Yeah, I think Serps is good enough socially. He might be able to do that. I do. We'll see. He's kind of one I don't have a strong opinion on. He can hide behind people, and you know what? I think how you described Outlaw's game, that's I think gonna be Serps actually. I think Serps has a better capability of that, and I think that might be what he does. I think
Yeah, I could
Outlaw's gonna get the
definitely.
boot, and Serps is gonna have that little spot maybe.
Yeah, I could see that like as sort of like a contrary counterpoint to what we said about Outlaw, where Serps is the one who ends up in that spot. I could see it.
Yeah, I think Serps is younger. He's younger too,
From
so that might help him as well.
Yeah. Um From there, we move to Skylar,
Huh.
who was one of the most hyped players heading into
Yeah.
this season. One of our representatives from season 6. They are
Yeah.
like a really, really strong player in terms of what we saw in season 6. Someone who was in a position where had an ally who was potentially willing to play an idol for them, but ultimately their ally played the idol for himself instead of for them, and the vote was, in fact, on Skylar, and the ally who played the idol did not have any votes cast against him. Oops. And ultimately, it was a season that was a bit of a pagonging where they were on the wrong side of it. But Skylar was one of the people who came the closest to like flipping out of the pagonging, turning things around, and like over and over and over again. It was a season of Skylar being the Charlie Brown trying to kick the football, and the Pagonging Alliance just being Lucy yanking the football away from them over and over and over. It was one of the
Yeah.
most like
Season 6.
brutal and devastating slogs that truly caused the season to earn its name Hello Despair over and over again. Because if that season's subtitle has been earned by anyone in Villain Viber history, I feel like Skylar has the right to claim the title of Despair.
Skylar got a bum rap. Skylar got robbed for sure. Yeah, very disappointing. And well, I think Skylar has some personal stuff going on because they're not active, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, unfortunately, Skylar has just not really been especially present the early days of this game to the point where they are in extreme danger should things go against their drive.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate for this to be happening to someone who was one of the biggest, most hyped names on this cast going into the season.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out so well. I do think that like if the activity is able to turn around, like Skylar is a magnificent player who would still have the room to turn things around.
Yeah.
But I think they need to get on it and get on it quickly because this could unfortunately be a relatively short stay for Skylar if the activity situation doesn't
Yeah,
turn
it might
around.
be IRL stuff, I have to imagine. And no. Unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm not going to speculate on the reasons or the causes. So
Unfortunate. I think
it's
if they
unfortunate.
participate, they can turn it around. I agree. Uh, but that remains to be seen.
Yeah. Well, from there, this season is of course set during the winter of the Northern Hemisphere, which makes our next contestant Snowy an especially apt choice for this season.
Snowy, Snowy, Snowy. Big personality on Snowy. Snowy.
Yes, I feel like we've already started to get the emergence of Snowy and his infamous laundry cat. He's just out there lighting up confessionals left, right, and center, hopping around, creating like music listening parties in tribe
Yep.
chat. Just like Snowy is definitely doing what it takes to become one of the early like social centers of
Yes.
this game in a way that is definitely going to protect him to some extent from any sort of early game shenanigans. I don't know how long it lasts. I feel like the Snowy Polar Express may run out of steam. There may not be enough coal, no matter how much Santa provides, to keep that engine a running. And I do think that eventually this is going to come like crashing catastrophically
Yeah,
to a halt.
Snowy, big. Sorry,
But
go ahead.
that's but that's because people are going to like clock what Snowy is up to. Like Snowy is like nakedly strategic in a way that is also like chaotic of personality And that's a combination that does not always make for the longest stay in a game of Survivor.
I agree. Snowy, merge boot itis, kind of early juror itis, big threat, very visible threat. He's not going to do anything about that. He's not going to manage that. But to his credit, he's running that tribe. He's core of the tribe. He's already like number one for the most part. He's the top dog. And at a swap, that could come down. But I think Snowy's gonna make the merge for sure. It's just a matter of will he be a big threat at the merge, and will he manage that? Because Snowy, I know he has won before. He's won games before. Definitely. Yeah, I don't know. It depends if people want him out or not. It really does. We'll have to see what happens with the merge. I think he can connect with people pretty well, but I think some of the he might crease some people. I think some people might want to target him, and I think he is going to be a big threat. So he might just turn into a big shield. Honestly, I don't know. He's either going to be able to keep his mist going like he is in these early days, or he's going to be a big meat shield, and that's his two paths. And I think the meat shield path is the most likely outcome. So he could maybe get 5th, or he could maybe get 10th, or something like that. That's my guess.
Yeah, I think in the least harsh way I can possibly say this cast is too good to let
I
Snowy
don't
win.
think so.
Like,
I
I
don't
think
think
there are
so.
absolutely casts that Snowy
Oh.
can beat, but I think this cast has too many people who will clock exactly what Snowy's up to. Like, there's no way he gets away with it forever in this cast. Like, this cast has too many people with too much awareness for Snowy to keep snowing them all.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think he can probably connect with a lot of the people. I don't think they're that smart. I don't know. I think they're okay. Like, yeah. We'll see. I don't know.
He'll last a while. I don't think he's going out anytime soon. There's no way they let him get to the end. Like,
Probably
no
not.
way. I just don't see it.
I think he should hope for 5th, and then if he can win those final immunities, maybe he has a shot.
Yeah, that's his path. He probably has to comp out from like 6 or 7. Like, he can get to that vicinity of the end if all goes well. But then, like, he's gonna have to chain together like 3 or 4 immunities in a row to pull out the win.
Do we want to move on?
Yep. From there, we have one more person to talk about, though this person has already been voted out, and that is, of course, Sophie. One of the players, again, from season 6, who we were somewhat
I was very
excited to see
excited.
come back. I definitely was looking forward to seeing another run from Sophie, who, like, had been one of the relative bright spots in what was the season of despair that we talked about earlier. An unfortunate swap combined with the Pagonging situation led Sophie to just get completely steamrolled over by a dominant majority alliance in the early days of the game.
Yeah, and then, fortunately kind of
but-
happened again.
Well, this time around, I think, much like with Skylar, there appeared to be some amount of, external circumstances, reduced activity involved,
Don't you think
and
Don't you
unfortunately,
think it was her time zone too?
Yeah, I think the time zone definitely didn't do her any favors. And when we put all that together, things just sort of spiraled out of control before Sophie could right the ship. And it's really unfortunate because I really wanted to see a lot more from Sophie here. But unfortunately, it it didn't seem to be meant to be. And yeah, I would have liked to see it. I would have liked to see what it looked like if we had Sophie for the long term. But between a majority alliance, between not being part of the challenge, between just thing after thing after thing going wrong for Sophie, there ended up being like a unanimous consensus against Sophie, and that was quote unquote that. All right. Well, with all of oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess never mind. You said everything about Sophia. Personally, I think robbed. I think time zone. I think maybe a little busy these past couple days. No business going out here. Really, no business. Obviously, there was some unknown information to Disc and Outlaw. Unknown information to them. But you know what? They could have figured it out. They could have figured this out, and they should not have voted for Sophie. That was a big mistake, especially for Disc if they lose again. Damn. I don't know.
And figuring out that people have lost their votes is not, especially when neither of them had told anyone else that they
I
lost
know.
their votes, is a little bit much to ask of
It's
them.
true. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. You are right. It just is a little upsetting because it's like, damn, she really could have stayed. It's a little, I feel bad. I really do. But you know what? It's second chances. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Well, with our 18 contestants each out of the way, we'll now move on to our 3 segments today. So, J-Ro, who is your winner pick for this season?
Um, you're gonna say, oh boy. But my winner pick is Chip.
I can see it. That's an exciting winner
Oh my
pick, but I
god, I'd
can
be
see
so
it.
happy. You know what? Here's the thing with Chip. She's social. She's a fan of Survivor. She knows the game. Last time it went bad, but it wasn't wholly her fault. I mean, obviously she's a new player. It was a very tense season. It was kind of a little bit of a toxic season, at least for Chip. They were not nice to her, and that caused her to be a little reclusive, and for good reason, in my opinion. I think she definitely was not a great situation, and I can understand why she maybe wasn't able to play to her fullest, and I don't blame her for that. I think this season's going to be a lot better of a cast. I think she's already doing very well socially on her tribe. She's not the top dog. People aren't going to look at her as a big threat. They're not going to see her as one. She's going to be able to make connections with a lot of different people because she's very likable. She's a very likable energy. She's you know she's just a good personality. I think she knows the game. She knows the moves to make. On season 8, she just didn't have the numbers a lot of the time, but the moves she was trying to make were correct. And I think people aren't going to target her. I don't think they will. And if she makes it to the end, I struggle to see a situation where she doesn't win. I feel like she's just a very likable person. I think she'll get the votes. I think, yeah, that's my winner pick.
I think that's a really interesting pick here, and one that I definitely could see playing out that way. I think especially like knowing the sort of people, right, who make up the org community as a whole. Like I think there's a lot of people out there in the community, whether it's here in the server or they're listening right now or otherwise, who can empathize so much with Chip's feeling of being like shunned, of being pushed to the outside for reasons that weren't
Yeah.
entirely fair, and want her to have like the rightful chance to play her own game in a world where she isn't treated as badly as she was the last time around. And I think that Chip having that chance is such a wonderful thing. It's honestly like I'm very, very happy that Chip is on our cast. I would love to see the timeline where Chip wins. Like you, I am sticking with season 8 for my winner pick, but I am ultimately going to go with Ginger for my winner pick. I really think that the things that Ginger has said in terms of looking back on their past game, the amount of positivity and sheer radiant personality that Ginger is already starting to exercise on this cast is going to be something that puts him in a fantastic
Mhm.
position throughout this game.
Ginger's a good pick.
And I really think that like if he just holds on to it, I really could see Ginger like running away with this game down the stretch. So I'm gonna go with Ginger for my
If they're
winner
gonna
pick.
target the duo of Chip and Ginger, who goes? Just answer that for me, because you know the answer.
Honestly, I think right now, if they target the duo, yes, it's
It's
Ginger who
always Ginger
goes.
who goes.
I think that I think that there's room to see how it plays out down the road. I think it's like really early to be making that kind of call. But you're right. I could absolutely see a world where like Ginger has a lot of power in this game, gets blindsided, and Chip is that torch carrier that we always talk about, especially here on the pod,
You're on the
right?
pod.
That player who was the number one ally of a major threat who
Yep.
got voted out. And all of a sudden, look at all the things we did together. I have this torch and I'm carrying it all the way to FTC.
Sandra.
Like
Sandra.
that idea of the torch carrier
Sandra.
keeps coming up over and over. And I could see Chip carrying Ginger's torch
Is
through the
this
finish
Chip's
line.
Sandra
Absolutely.
era?
I mean, I could see it happen. Like I'm not saying it won't happen.
I think it will.
Uh, Leaving those two aside, we'll move to our second segment, someone who we believe will be one of the 5 best players
Yeah.
of this season, not counting either
Well,
Chip
I
or
think
Ginger. Who do you think will end up top
I would
5?
have both Chip and Ginger in my top 5. Uh,
And so one more name who you think will be in the top 5 by the end of the season outside of
should I
those two.
name 3 more, right?
So we're
Oh.
picking one name that we expect to be within the top 5 at the end of the season when we do
right.
player rankings.
Who else will be in the top 5 with Chip and Ginger? I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say Snowy. He's gonna be a big threat, but I do think Snowy, on paper, he's a good player, and I think if anyone's gonna get advantages, if anyone's gonna find some idols, some goodies, it's gotta be Snowy, and I think he'll know how to use them. Definitely Potts contender, not winner contender, but Potts contender.
Yeah, I could see that. I could absolutely see a world where Snowy's able to put it together and is able to
He's
be in a, strong position backed up by advantages. I could
he's
absolutely see that.
he's doing very good in the Safari. He's super fast.
Yeah, I think that Snowy really does have like a lot of instincts for how to handle a Safari system like this, and it's serving him really
Yeah.
well so far.
Do we say one more?
For my pick for this
Yeah.
spot, I am going to go with, unsurprisingly, based on what I said earlier tonight,
Yeah.
Jordan. I really see a world where Jordan ends up being like one of the leaders, one of the power
Maybe.
players in this game. And I would not be at all surprised to see Jordan end up in our top 5 player rankings by the end of the
He's
season.
a little too high variance for my tastes, but I could see it happening. Like, he's not a bad player. He just has some pretty notable flaws.
All right. And leaving aside those 4 now, so that would be leaving aside Chip, Ginger, Snowy, and Jordan. We'll each pick one person who we think will land in the top 5 character rankings at the end of the season. So who do you think will be one of our 5 biggest characters this season?
My biggest characters, well, I would say also Snowy. That's without a doubt, Snowy. Definitely Jason. You know, definitely Jason.
I can see a world where Jason ends up being one of our top characters
Oh, he
by
has
the
to,
end of
he
the
has to
season
make it
for
far enough.
sure.
He has
Like
to
just
make it far
seeing.
enough.
See, I think even if Jason goes out at like, I don't know, 9th or something, I could see a world where Jason's one of the 5 biggest
That's
characters as a
true.
9th placer. Like that doesn't seem crazy to me. Like we're gonna get a lot of Jason for as long as they last. Like I would not be shocked if like 9th place Jason still has the most messages in
That's
confessional of the
true.
season. Like that would not surprise me at all. I'm gonna go a little off the wall here, given what
Okay.
I've said up to this point, and especially with what I said in the
Uh-huh.
build up to this season. But I really think this is going to be a season where Curtis ends up
I
being one of our
agree.
biggest characters, and I can't
agree.
believe I'm
I
saying
agree.
this. I can't believe that I'm
Yes.
actually saying this, but just based on what we're seeing so far, I really could see Curtis being
Oh
one of our
yeah.
biggest
He's a
characters
big
by the end of the
personality.
season. And yeah, I'm glad we're finally getting to see like the amount of big personality that Curtis has. And the more we see of it, the more I'm convinced that like Curtis is going to be one of the names we remember
I
when we
think
look
so
back on this
too.
season down
Curtis
the road.
is he's positioned well. I mean, we'll see what happens. Even if he gets kind of cut off midway through, I think he'll be a big character. He's certainly going to be a personality. That we can't take away from him. Do we need one more? Do we need one more?
Exactly. I think that's our traditional 3 segments for the
Yeah.
end of the cast assessment podcast. So with that said, I'm going to thank all of you for joining us tonight. Along the way, we had our hosts Ashley and Roman. This has been Elk, and along with me here at the end, we
J-Ro, you
have.
joined in like halfway through. Hi.
All right, thank you for joining us, whether you were listening live in the pod channel on the Villain Viber server, whether you're listening to us after the fact on YouTube, or whether you found us any other way, including the recording posted in the podcast channel on the Villain Viber Discord. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to a fantastic Second Chances